good afternoon and good evening. My name is James Schofield and you're listening to My Growth Coaching, a podcast which explores the field of business coaching. In each episode of this series, I'm talking to expert coaches from inside and outside of the international technology company Siemens about the business coaching issues they encounter with their coaching clients and how they work together to find practical solutions, helping each client become the best version of themselves. My guests will share interesting case studies about the challenges people face in their business life and how they deal with them. It could be dealing with conflicts in a team, overcoming procrastination, taking difficult decisions, balancing family and career, all issues that we are familiar with but which maybe we don't know how to solve on our own. So join us and make sure you listen to the very end, because that's where I'll give a short summary of the recommendations from each episode that might help you manage your life just a little bit better. Today's episode is all about coaching in a foreign language. I want to talk about the language that you're doing your coaching in. Is it just your mother tongue, or are you also willing to coach in another language? Now, many experienced coaches have said to me that they would never coach in a language other than their own, on the principle that they want to understand everything that their client says and also to be able to carefully choose the questions that they ask in the coaching session. They feel if they can't do that, then they are providing a suboptimal service. Now, as a coach whose native language is English, but who also coaches in German, I have a problem with this point of view. So I decided to invite one of the best systemic business coaches I know onto the show to talk about this and her experience, Christine Bender. Christine worked for Siemens, which is where we met each other. Then she left Munich, left Siemens and moved to the Netherlands and started her own coaching business from scratch in 2014. She does individual and team coaches, occasionally runs training sessions, and she's a public speaker. The interesting thing is she does most of her work in Dutch, although she didn't speak any Dutch when she arrived there in 2014. So, a pretty impressive person. Let's meet her and find out how she managed to do this. Christine Bender, welcome to My Growth Coaching.
Hi James, good to be here.
So Christine, can you tell us a little bit about your coaching background?
Yeah, sure. I started economics and I had the main focus on human resource management. So I got to know coaching just a little bit and I liked it. I found it very interesting. And then actually after a few years of working at Siemens, I decided I want to go to the Münchner Akademie für Business Coaching. And there I did my systemic business coaching education with certification.
Okay, so what were you doing when you were working at Siemens, first of all?
I was in the department Esprit Competence Center. It's a department where they collect all the figures from around the world for the annual report. And it's like a help desk. And I was responsible for a few countries so that they will be helped to do everything correctly.
Okay, that sounds a little bit dry compared to what you're doing now.
That is true. That's actually that is also the point where I got into the coaching, because what they did, there was an annual conference where all the participants of that tool join, and this was an online conference, and it was really big to organize. So I was the project lead of that conference, where I realized how much I like it to stay in front of people, giving workshops, train, motivate, and that's what I did. And actually, there I found my passion for coaching.
So you going from counting numbers to coaching. That's an interesting journey.
In the Netherlands, I also did an certification for family constellations.
Okay. All right. So you joined Siemens, you working in a department which consolidates figures for the company's final report. You start organizing their annual conference. You realize that, this is something that you find stimulating, organizing, running workshops, facilitating, and then you go into coaching. But I mean, facilitating and coaching are not necessarily the same thing. Was a kind of like a trigger event which caused you to think, okay, I need to get myself a coaching training, the systemic business coaching.
Yeah, that's what actually is so nice about that conference, because when I did that, it was the first time that I ran a project. So I was like, oh, I never did that. So I got a book about project management, and I realized that I was reading the chapter about coaching during the whole night without realizing what time it is. That's how I should say it. I realized that's it. I like coaching so much that it feels like a hobby, like passion, like I don't know. I wanted to know everything about it. And actually, James, you were the last how do you say that? The last bit, because actually we were talking and you told me, hey, I'm going to the Münchner Academy for Business Coaching, and
Right.
and
I
I felt
remember.
like I was so happy for you, and at the same time I was like jealous. Yeah, that's what I want to do as well. So here we go.
All right. So you find you find that this topic is something which motivates you, that gives you a lot of energy. But then, I mean, you could have stayed in Siemens. I mean, like me, you could have stayed here in Siemens, carried on coaching, but you did something really very unusual. You had a successful career at Siemens, and I can remember everybody talked very well about you. Everybody, all the managers wanted to have you in their team. But no, you gave it all up, moved to a foreign country, set up a coaching business there, and you now do your coaching sessions in Dutch, language which you didn't speak when we met. So that's got to be an interesting journey. What led you to do that?
That was actually also a little bit the education of the coaching, because then you realize what you really want. At least that was with me. I couldn't ignore what I really wanted, and I really wanted to be an entrepreneur really badly. That was a big wish, but I thought I'd do it later on. But life happens, right? So what happened was that I met my boyfriend during skiing holidays, and he is Dutch. Actually, the plan was to go to the Netherlands with Siemens. There was a plan that I go to The Hague because I wanted to go abroad one more time. Yeah, but then I met Michael, my boyfriend, and we had for 1.5 years we were traveling between the countries, and we didn't like that anymore. And there was also a point where Siemens wanted to lose some people, actually, sadly. And then I volunteered. I said I wanted to go, and moved to the Netherlands. And actually, I thought, well, I don't speak the language. I first need to speak the language, and then I can build up my business. So I need to get a job. But actually, again, if you know what your passion is, when I read job description, I felt it in my stomach, like I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. So actually, I came to the decision, no, I want to start now. I went to a language school where they teach you the language in 1 week. It's really crazy, but it's really good. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. You have one-on-one classes the whole day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of brainwashing. Okay, but yeah, Dutch and German is not that far apart, but still.
Yeah.
it's really it was pretty good. And I came back and I could speak it a little, let's say the basics, and then I needed to practice because I think you have to, yeah, you have to talk the mother language with the clients. That's what I think. And yeah, that's what I did. Actually, followed my heart and did it.
You're saying that you decided you were going to set up your business after just a week of learning Dutch, right?
No, no. First, I decided I want to do that, and then I learned the language. Actually, I wanted to learn the language, nevertheless, but
Right.
because if I'm in the country, I wanted to speak their language, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then actually I had German customers still, and I also traveled to Germany, and I think it took me one and a
Hmm.
half year until I dared to really set my homepage online and say, okay, here I am, and I'm coaching in Dutch. So I think that I
Wow.
was practicing one and a half years in private with friends and the shops and I
Hmm.
don't know. And then and then I dared to go to network events and trying to get customers. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And now it's actually the other way around. 80% of my customers are Dutch and 20% are German. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, something of a success story. But I mean, tell us a little bit about your emotions in this process. What was it like for you? Were you frightened?
Was I frightened? I don't know. I don't know if frightened is the right word. I think my German perfectionism was a barrier because I wanted to do it so perfectly that I sometimes didn't dare to do it or thought like I'm not good enough. But on the other
Mm,
hand, Dutch people are so nice and they are so nice if they see that you learn their language because they are so used to learning other languages all the time. So
right.
that was my first advantage. That's what I maybe yeah, yeah. So that was the first, and then yeah, emotions. What I was tired. I think that's what I can say. I think sometimes after one coaching session, I was so tired for the whole day because I wanted to do the coaching good and then trying to understand everything, listening pretty good and doing saying the right things and with the right language. So I was just that was maybe the right word, tired. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's difficult to live on one coaching session a day. You must have had to build up.
You're right, you're right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're very right. But then actually, thanks to my boyfriend, I had all the time in the world. Yeah, he helped me. He helped me. At that point, he helped me. So he said, you go ahead, take your time, and do that." So I think maybe it took like 2 or 3 years until I had the turnover. Like, yeah, yeah. It took some time. Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah,
I'm sure. Okay. All right. So, the main physical experience for you was
yeah,
exhaustion,
yeah.
tiredness from the thing. But I mean, were there never any times where you thought, "This is a crazy idea. Why am I doing this?" I'm. It's like swimming in glue. Did you never have that
No, no,
experience?
no, not with the coachings. And I think the when I'm really annoyed is if I have to write offers to my clients because then I need help. I think if you are talking to someone in real life and then you can always smile, ask the client back, do I say that correctly? Or how do you say that? I would like to explain it, la 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 la. But if you're really writing an official offer, and with me, it's always adjusted to the client's needs so that there's not a text the same. If it's a
Hmm.
team coaching or a training or something, then I always need help, and that's the point where I'm getting annoyed. Yeah, that may be well, but not
Okay.
during the coaching because what I said. I think it would be different in Germany because Germans would love everything to be correctly and perfect. Not sure, but well, yeah, you
Hmm.
can say that, right? Because You can answer that.
Well, we'll come
Ah,
to that in
yeah.
a second. Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, what I said, the Dutch they give so much compliments. Still they say, "Boy, you're talking so well," and that in that short time, and how do you do that? And that, yeah, that's always very good to not being afraid and just do it. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So what are the kind of topics that you're working with as a coach?
It's always okay. That's for everybody behavioral change. But what I really like is if people would like to dare something that they never did before. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, people are coming to me. It's like, I want to start my own business. So it's really life-changing things. Or if they have a conflict with somebody, and that's also a life-changing conflict, let's say. So that's the things that I love most. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. And do you are you also working with families? You said that you do quite a lot of family constellation, or you did family constellation
yeah.
training.
Both, yeah, I did it, and I also, yeah, and most of the time it's one person of the family, right? But I have two or
Right.
three customers where the child is coming as well. So sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time it's one person. Or I'm doing workshops
Mm-hmm.
where we have a group of people, and then everybody is doing a constellation. But then it's not the family; it's a group of people that don't know each other, and we do the workshop. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to this topic then of the language. Now, a lot of coaches have said to me that they would never coach in a language in which they were not a native speaker. And they say that it is important that they can master all the nuances of the language. What's your view on that? Do you think you're a better coach in German or Dutch? And, what do you think about this objection?
It's I don't think it's right. And here you come again, because I think I talked
Mm-hmm.
with you about that topic, and you said, isn't it nice if
Right.
if a client says something and you cannot understand it, and then you say, can you explain that a little bit more to me? And actually, and I really think about that very often, because then they got deeper into the topic if you do that. So I think that you gave some really good advice about this. And I think two more aspects. I think coaching is so much about intuition, don't you think?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's actually not that much the language that matters, but the things that I see, that I feel. Yeah,
Mm.
that's I yeah, I let myself lead by my intuition a lot, and that's why it works, I think.
With the point about asking for clarification, in my view, it's actually can be an issue if you both have the same language. There are all sorts of subtext. There are all sorts of, if you like, cultural understandings that you share with somebody when you both have the same native language, so that you don't sometimes ask questions which would be helpful for the client, because you don't push them enough. And I think having that reason, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. What do you mean when you say, you know what I mean? I don't know what you mean. Can you explain that in more detail?
I dare to ask more challenging questions because it's not my mother language. Do you get that?
Right.
Because I
Yes.
think
Yeah. No,
I
I
have a
do.
barrier if it's like, oh, are you really allowed to say that? Oh, what do they think in German? Yeah, but
Yeah.
as it's not German, I don't have that barrier. So I'm more brave in the other language, actually.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
advantage, what you also said, cultural advantage. Here they have yeah, as in every country, they have a few things that men should do or shouldn't do. So they like being
Mm.
coached by me because I understand, because very often people come to me and say, I'm so tired of this and that, what you do normally in the Netherlands. and I'm so happy that you are not Dutch. So I can say it.
Right. Okay.
They say like I wouldn't dare to tell that to a Dutch person, but I'm daring to tell it to you. So that's also
Can you give an example, or is
yeah,
that
yeah. What the general agreement in Dutch is everybody is the same. So I don't know what you say. If you say that in, or how do you say that in English? So there's not, if you are in a classroom, for example, there should not be one person that's sticking out of the group. They all should be the
right?
same. And
Uh-huh.
so and people that are coming to me is like, I want to be better. I want to achieve this and that. I want to earn more
Uh-huh.
money. I want to show myself. I like staying, I don't know, on the stage or I don't know what. And
Hmm.
with me, that's okay because Germans, they push that. They push you to be the best and do better. And it's
Yes,
okay
yes.
at school or even better if you have the best exam and whatsoever. So there's a big cultural difference. And yeah,
Right.
and with me, yeah, we find something because they're so afraid of being pushed out of the group.
Ah, okay. So they don't like to admit
Yeah,
that to a
yeah,
Dutch
yeah,
coach.
yeah, 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 yeah. And with me, we find a
And
way.
with you, they have that
Yeah,
freedom.
and with me, we find a way that they don't think they're arrogant or something. So that's what they're afraid of being that somebody else thinks they're arrogant or they think that they're special or blah, blah, blah. So we find a way that
Yeah.
they can manage this with being
Hmm.
somebody else or with showing yourself or with saying I want to earn more money. These kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I read a very an article by a very interesting, actually, I think Dutch interculturalist called Fons Trompenaars, and he was talking about how Dutch candidates for American companies have
Oh yeah.
huge
Yeah.
problems in the interview
Oh yeah,
process.
sure. The same thing again. Huh? Because Americans,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because in Americans in an American company, you're expected to show, well, I did this
Yeah.
and I did that, and I was top of my class in that, and I made this difference to turnover, and for the Dutch candidates, it's very hard to do
You're
that
right. That's the same. Yeah.
because they feel they're
Yeah.
boasting.
Yeah. 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 And that's what you don't do in the Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's interesting. So actually, you being a foreign coach
Yeah.
liberates them.
And they actually it's like maybe they feel like okay she's doing that so maybe I'm also allowed to do that.
All right. Okay. Okay. Now that sounds really
Yeah.
interesting. Um, have you ever felt at a disadvantage though?
Do you think with in comparison with other coaches or
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Have you ever felt with a client with one of your when you're working in Dutch? Have you ever felt I can't make I can't help my client as well as I could if I was completely fluent in Dutch?
I don't think so. Am I sounding arrogant now? No, I think it's really the fact that if I don't understand, even sometimes I think, oh, I want to do it perfectly. If I'm doing a team coaching or something, I'm standing at the flip chart and writing something down. And if I'm writing, then I don't have the correction that Word does, for
Hmm.
example. And then I write something. I say, hey, can you help me? Is it the correct way
Hmm.
of spelling? And they always
Hmm.
think, yeah, perfect. Or no, it's like this and that. But I've never the feeling that they think like, oh, she doesn't know it. And
Yeah.
no, no, it's really only the thing when I'm writing offers that I feel like, oh, that's exhausting. Yeah,
And then you can use ChatGPT now.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Gen AI. That's amazing.
Aha.
One question I wanted to ask you now. I know that your motto is be
Yeah.
brave. Yeah. it's very important for you to you believe very strongly, and you said it earlier, to encourage people to dare things that they had thought were previously impossible. And it sounds to me that you also try and live your motto in yourself. I mean, you moved to a foreign country. You left a stable job, and although it was the case that I remember that time within Siemens that people were being asked if they wanted to leave, but Siemens didn't want you to leave. Actually, they wanted to keep you, but nevertheless, you took the step. You left. You went to a foreign country. And you set up your own business. Do you feel fear?
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh my God, what's in a half a year? Most of the times, like, do I get enough clients that I can survive? That's my fear. But it doesn't weigh that much as the freedom that I have. So that's I'm always thinking, like, okay, what is worse? And the fear of not getting new customers when actually they are coming back again doesn't weigh the freedom, and I love my job so much that I don't want to change a thing. Yeah, and you're right. I think as a coach you have to be an example, lead by example, right? And that's what's right. People also, for them, it's correct what I say. If I say there are things you don't seem possible, then it's like yeah. Some Dutch people said actually it's like written on your, how do you say that, on your head? Is it
written on your forehead?
My forehead, yeah. That I live that, and then then that makes me real, right? They can trust me because they think, okay, she's not only saying that, she's also doing that.
Yeah. I should also add for the listeners that Christine also has a young child. She manages the whole shebang, if you like. Her job, child, pretty amazing, and all in a foreign language and in a foreign country.
James. So for me, it's normal. It's normal for me, so I don't see that anymore.
Just out of curiosity, your son Kilian, do you speak Dutch or German to him, or both?
German. Yeah.
German.
Yeah,
right.
I really wanted him to. I wanted him to be bilingual, and here comes again. That's why I learned Dutch, because with Kilian I would never ever talk. My mother language is just popping up. It comes from my heart. So with him, I want to speak that language. And that's what I think why the customers sometimes I have Spanish customers and then we have to do it in English. But I realize that they sometimes also wanted to speak Spanish. So I think the customer should be in his or her mother language, and the coach should learn the other language. That's what I think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have the same situation. The majority of my clients we work in German, but I also have some clients from Turkey or from Portugal, and then obviously we do it in English. Though I also think sometimes what I would say there is that sometimes when the client is working in another language, in a foreign language, they don't always have the linguistic defenses to stop them saying things.
That could also possible. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sometimes things come out that in their own tongue they could maybe talk around or put into different words and paint over a little bit. But when they're working in another language, they don't always have the language to do that. So they open up sometimes a bit more. That can also happen.
Yeah, maybe what I think is sometimes I experience that they really want to let me know how they feel. So it's like, I really want to tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
but then it doesn't work, and that's when they get frustrated. So I think you have a good point, and I think that's a different point as well. They wanted to let me feel it and explain it, and they don't know the words then, and then it's like, I'm stuck, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I've experienced that frustration as well. But I think I mean my view is that with all these things there are advantages, there are disadvantages, and one has to seek out the best way to help the client.
Yeah, and isn't it the normal thing from coaching that you have a relation of trust, and you have a deep relation, so actually it doesn't matter if you really use the right words or something. It's not the language that matters, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And just also a topic, Dutch body language and German body language, is that very different or is it quite similar?
Oh, I think it's quite similar, actually. Now, I never thought about this, so then I think it's quite similar.
Good. Christine, thank you so much. If you could give one piece of advice to a coach who is maybe only working in their mother tongue at the moment, but they are also maybe pretty good in a second language, what would you say to them about trying to coach in a foreign tongue, in another language?
Just do it. It's simple, right? Dare it. Because you have to go over that one time or two times or maybe three times. You have to go over that hurdle, but then it works. It just works. Yeah.
Right. And my view is that sometimes it's a pity, because I know a lot of really excellent coaches who working in German, who are reluctant to try coaching in English, even though their English is very good, but they have this anxiety. They have this, as you said earlier, maybe this problem with German perfectionism, and I think it's a pity because there are so many international companies working here in Germany who need, and their employees come from all over the world, and they need support. They need help in working in Germany. It's not an easy country necessarily to work in. And these expats coming to Germany need support, and it's difficult sometimes for them to find a coach who's willing to take that risk. And I agree with you. It's just do it. Try it.
They should go to see a coach and trying to find out why they are so anxious. So maybe there's something different. And then if you work that out, maybe it's a German perfectionism. But then the Dutch people are really good examples because they just do it and try, because they learn from a very long cultural heritage how good it is to speak another language, and that's why they do it. So maybe Germans just also need to try. Yeah.
Christine, thank you so much for this interview today.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure.
As always, to talk to you. I always enjoy our chats.
Me too.
And at which point we will wrap up today's show and thank everybody for taking part. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So, another great interview with a really excellent coach. Let's just recap what we learnt. Christine's focus in her coaching is helping people to do things they haven't done before, so she thinks there are in fact some advantages in providing coaching in a language that is not your mother tongue. Firstly, the client has to explain more. They can't get away with saying, you know what I mean, because as a non-native speaker, the coach often doesn't know how to read between the lines or understand subtexts. Secondly, the coach is less afraid to ask challenging questions. They don't have the inhibitions that a native speaker often carries with them because they come from a different culture, which gives them a fresh perspective. Thirdly, clients are more willing to discuss issues they have with particular cultural norms in the Netherlands with a foreign coach than with a Dutch coach. For example, in the Netherlands, it is frowned upon to want to stand out or be exceptional. clients come to her and say they are tired of having to feel ashamed of wanting to do that. They find it difficult to talk about doing such things with a Dutch coach. Fourthly, coaching is not just about language, it's also about intuition. So in conclusion, as a coach, you have to lead by example. You should be able to demonstrate in your own behaviour what you hope your clients aspire to. If you want your clients to be brave and step outside their comfort zone and into a learning zone, you should be willing to do it yourself. The first couple of coaching sessions in a second language may feel strange, but after that it'll come much more easily. And, as Christine would say, just be brave. That's all from this episode of My Growth Coaching. If you like this podcast, please follow and give it a rating on whichever platform you use. And tell your friends about it too, especially if you think some of the ideas I discussed with my guests could be useful for them as well. After all, sharing is caring. I'll be back interviewing more great coaches about their experiences soon, so keep your eyes and ears open. Until then, take care and goodbye.